Welcome to Too Long Didn't Read, where Andrea and I'm Stephen, we read the news from newspapers in case you didn't have a chance to read the news.
Yeah, that's it.
So, we each pick out 3 stories every week and we talk about them. And we kind of cross-pollinate and see what's interesting. And we try and pick out stories that are important to people in our area. Are we ready for our final story?
Final story.
Okay, final story. Election day nears for proposed property
Yes, and I have some
tax
stuff
hike.
on that too.
Oh, good. Okay.
I found the Herald Tribune voice on that one.
All right, so good. So I'll do the brief overview, and then you
Well,
jump in
and the
with what
interesting
you've got.
one on this one
What?
is all these things we've been looking at. A lot
Yes.
of them seem to be one's more important on one side of the county line and one the other. This is a county coming together, kind of. Everybody's.
You're talking about
coming
Manatee and
together.
Sarasota counties are both doing the mill rate.
And they're talking together about this.
Yes.
Like this wasn't just one side saying one and one saying another.
So
The
briefly to
superintendents came together.
summarize. So briefly to summarize, and then jump in about the superintendents coming
Yes.
together. So the proposed tax hike, which I think is it's pretty strong language. I don't think it's a hike, right?
Oh, it really does say that.
It says tax hike. Yeah, I don't think it's much of a hike. It's basically a $100 increase for every $100,000 of assessed property value. So if your house is worth $100,000, your property tax is going to increase by $100, and that money is going to go towards Manatee County teachers, teacher aides, and bus drivers. And teachers are going to increase their salaries by $5,700, teacher aides by I think $2,200, and bus drivers as well. The counter argument for this tax hike is that the county has been irresponsible with their finances. Manatee County. And therefore, because they've been irresponsible with their finances, they do not deserve more finances. And then the counter to that counter is that in the last several years, there's been an extraordinary amount of accountability. The school district has balanced their budget and then some, and have made incredible strides towards financial stability. And we know this because there are various outside commissions and agencies that audit the school board on a regular basis. So why is this extraordinary now, Andrea?
So what?
What?
Your neighbors. So
Motorcycles.
I think it's interesting. First of all, Sarasota has had this tax for many years. So
And it's done well for them. Everybody kind of likes
when
it.
you're looking at Sarasota is just voting to continue it, which I think is interesting, whereas this is the first for Manatee, correct?
Right.
All right.
That they're voting to continue it, I think, is important.
It is. And so what I thought was really interesting is that Lakewood Ranch Business Alliance had a meeting where both superintendents came together. So you had Superintendent Green and Superintendent Bowden, I always say that wrong. And they came together and they're both talking about this. And what I thought was really interesting is that Sarasota is able to talk about how this has worked and what they've been able to do. So the things that are being proposed by Manatee are not out of the ordinary. It goes back to what I was saying before. I wish there was some sort of best practice for putting armed guards in schools
Security,
before we start
right.
doing that.
Maybe
Well,
we've seen an area that's worked in, and now we can replicate
we
it here.
actually have
Right.
a best practice in Sarasota.
Sarasota did it, worked for them.
And it's worked well. And so when you're looking at this, they do talk about the salaries and that Sarasota is actually still, I mean, in general, teachers do get paid a little bit less than other jobs that require a 4-year degree. But when you look at Sarasota and Manatee County, there's a big difference. The other thing I thought was interesting is that in Sarasota County, I know that there are people who oppose it. So when they did the Sarasota Tiger Bay on this issue, they were not able to find anyone who would sit on the panel and openly oppose it. So Sarasota's been doing this for 16 years. They vote every 4. The fact that they're voting for it again and no one was willing to oppose it publicly, I think says something that something's working.
Yeah, it's working at stealing our teachers. Our best teachers are going to Sarasota County because they get so much more money there. It is 100% working. this is like a great example of how capitalism impacts education in a huge, huge, huge outsized way. If you pay your teachers more, you will get the best teachers. I've heard principals complain over and over and over again that they are losing their best teachers on a regular basis.
Why not? I mean, you wouldn't even have to move. You could live in your same house, and you could go to Sarasota County and make more money doing the same thing. Here are the stats from this article. And this was Superintendent Green noted this, that first year teacher in Manatee is $39,000, Sarasota is $42,000, and Pinellas is $43,000.
There is a big draw for teachers in Manatee County to move to Pinellas, Hernando, DeSoto, Sarasota counties, because it is known how much a starting salary is in that area, for the whole area.
And you have to look at the cost of living as well.
A family of four spends more money in Manatee County than a family of four in Tampa, St. Pete, Sarasota.
All right, so anyway, that's the news for this week.
All these demand accountability signs that you're seeing, number one, there is a huge level of accountability with the county. You can go see the budget for Manatee County School District. You can go
to their meetings.
You can go to the school board meetings and watch them talk about it. If you are dismayed at the behavior of school board officials, that you might perceive them to be unprofessional, listen, those are people that we elected. So if we have a problem with that, then we should probably elect different. But we elected them, so we have to live with them until their term is up. Unless, of course, illegal activities.
Run yourself. Run for.
Yeah, run yourself, and also.
Run yourself. That sounds weird. All right. See you next week. Is that what we say? How do we end this thing?
We end this thing by saying that name one thing that we hope happens in the news that's totally fictitious and crazy.
A fictitious and crazy thing?
Yeah, like I hope that we find out that red tide never exists ever again. I hope that we read that in the newspaper this week. What do you hope we read in the newspaper this week?
The red tide is hitting me right now.
All right, well, if those things happen in the news, we'll definitely tell you about it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Right.
By Manatee County.
See you next week.
County.